Hey guys, this is a market update. I want to talk about the two things that are pulling on the Bitcoin price this year, which is going to affect all other crypto prices. So one is really great and one is absolutely awful. The great one is adoption of Bitcoin, which I'm going to show you is happening right now. All the things that we've said about Bitcoin, that it's going to be used in the energy industry and that nation states will use it, that's happening now. It's actually happening. The other aspect is the economy, especially in the States, which the market now is expecting to fall into a recession. This is terrible news, basically, for everything, the stock market and all cryptos. So, where do we sit here? I want to talk about that in this video. So let's get into it. I'm going to talk about the price right here. We've got the Bitcoin price on. Now, we actually had a really good bounce off these lows, right? And we've hit some resistance up here. But this is actually a really healthy price action, considering all the World War III FUD that is going on right now. Bitcoin isn't going crazy, actually. It's kind of trying to consolidate along this level. So you can see these levels I've got on here. We're actually right in the middle here. If we come down to this level again, obviously that's important. You can see that this is actually a pretty important level. I also want to look at the Bitcoin chart pretty much over the last 12 months. So I'm just going to zoom in here and show you that we're actually only up around 20% or so from about 12 months ago. So you can see that on the right-hand side. So, we've had a lot of ups and downs. We've hit 2 all-time highs. We've come off those. But if we were at all-time highs right now, if we were at like 65, 70, 75,000, I would be way more worried about a huge drop. But we've already had this drop, not to say it can't go lower. I think it definitely can, especially if a recession comes in, which is quite likely now. But, we're not kind of at all-time highs in euphoria mode right here. And actually, Bitcoin has shown a lot of strength, kind of fundamental spot buying strength. And there's a couple of reasons for that as well, which I'm going to get onto right now. So you're seeing me using Bybit here. If you want to trade on Bybit, you can get up to $4,000 as a deposit bonus. So make a deposit on there and they'll give you up to $4,000 in your futures trading account if you want to trade futures on Bitcoin or Ethereum or anything like that. So, what is happening to Bitcoin in terms of this spot buying that I'm seeing? Well, like we said for a very long time, Bitcoin is going to be used in the energy industry. This is obviously the most obvious thing, right? So you have this computer network that thrives on, its hash rate, and how healthy the network is. Obviously, the hash rate tells you that. That is how many computers are doing the mining the Bitcoin. And of course, that means that if you are an energy player and you have access to extremely cheap energy, it makes sense to print literally free money, right? So this is what's happening now. And finally, we're seeing Bitcoin as a large asset that is coming into banks. These big players are now getting on board. So what's really important here is that obviously ConocoPhillips are absolutely massive, giant in the oil and gas industry. They're doing it. They're putting Bitcoin miners in the Bakken, which is a massive oil and gas field in the States. And it takes up pretty much most of the northern part. And they're doing it. They're putting Bitcoin miners on their oil fields. I mean, there you go. How much more do you want to see that Bitcoin is becoming just a huge worldwide asset that these huge companies are using? Now, obviously, Intel came out a few weeks back and said they're building a Bitcoin mining chip as well. That is going to be used by Jack Dorsey and Block. It's also going to obviously be used by these oil and gas producers as well. Now, Intel say that their chip is 1,000 times more. That's amazing, right? 1,000 times better than the current mining chips. So obviously, the current mining chips are made by mostly a company in China who they don't make the best chips. Obviously, Intel are very experienced with making CPUs, especially. So, that's what they're going to be doing, and essentially having this 1,000x better chip. And also you're seeing huge international organizations put this directly on their oil fields, and they're going to be mining Bitcoin. The hash rate of Bitcoin is going to explode. Much better chips, real top quality professional chips, professional companies doing this. Why do they want to do this? Because you can basically print money. Okay, so you have the oil, and also really important is that you have flaring and a lot of gas that is just wasted from the process of making the energy. And you're just going to put a Bitcoin mining chip on that. So there's no reason not to do that. This could bring the price of energy down overall, which is obviously good, especially now because oil and gas are very expensive. This is exactly what the UAE is doing as well. So UAE is very pro crypto and pro, very progressive with all of this stuff. Obviously, that's where I'm living right now. Binance are setting up shop in Dubai, I think it is. And what they want to do is build a crypto mining ecosystem. So again, I mean, obviously, look, these guys sit on huge oil fields and gas fields. It's just coming out the ground, right? So just put some Bitcoin mining chips on there, and then make some free money with Bitcoin. Now, why that's really important is because as the hash rate goes up, everything gets more professional. And then you have bigger firms that say, okay, we're going to get involved. And this is an ecosystem that we can put a lot of money in. Now, another thing that's really important, like I said, is that what's happened with Bitcoin miners is that previously Bitcoin mining was a kind of, small operation, right? So early adopters, and the way that they funded their operations was by mining Bitcoin and selling Bitcoin on the market to make money to pay for their business. That doesn't happen anymore to a big extent. Most miners now have actually moved to areas where you can sell your equity. So a mining company now, lots of them listed in the States, they get money through selling an equity share in their business, and the Bitcoin that they mine doesn't go onto the market anymore. So this is a lot of Bitcoin that would usually be sold that is now not being sold in the market. And that's why I think, you're going to see kind of less volatility as these big players come in. They mine the Bitcoin. UAE, ConocoPhillips, they don't have to sell Bitcoin. They don't have to mine it and sell it. They can actually just mine it pretty much like mining gold and say, we're going to have some reserves. If you want to know more about how I invest in Bitcoin and other cryptos, I have a whole portfolio of crypto, do check out my crypto investor course. It's good for beginners all the way up to advanced. I've been in the industry, I've been, trading and investing over 12 years now. There's like 150 videos here. I add videos over time free of charge for everyone in the course. We also have a big private members group as well, which you can come and talk to me and ask questions and everything. So, if you're interested in investing, you want to see my trade alerts and everything, then check that out. So as the UAE are going to be mining Bitcoin, we can expect that them as a sovereign wealth fund as well are going to be holding Bitcoin and investing in Bitcoin miners and getting the Bitcoin that way. They probably won't be going out into the market to get it in any big regard. Why not just mine it with the oil and gas that's, in your back garden? For other countries, it looks like they're going to adopt this. Now, Belarus, obviously, we're not going to get into politics about, where these countries are, but it's pretty obvious what's happening, right? Belarus are saying, let's let crypto investors register. It's better for them to register and actually use it in a legitimate way. Then you've got obviously Russia. Again, lots of political games here, which I'm not going to get into. But quite interesting is that the Bank of Russia actually says that they want to completely ban cryptocurrencies and not let people trade them. But then you go over to the finance minister of Russia, and he's saying you can't ban Bitcoin. It's like trying to ban the internet. It's just impossible. It would be much better for us to bring them in, regulate them, let people use them, regulate them in some different ways, and trying to ban them is just absolutely impossible. This is all great news. So why aren't we at 100,000 already? Well, essentially it's because a recession is coming. That's what the market thinks anyway, really in the States. So the way that we know this is through something called the yield curve, and it's really important to understand. So what's happened, and you're going to have to bear with me with this childish drawing here because I couldn't find any graphs online about this, but bonds yield an amount, and over time what you would expect to happen is that if you borrow money for a short period of time, you pay a lower interest rate than if you borrow it for a very long time. The yield curve looks something like this usually. This is a normal yield curve where obviously you have, let's say this is 2 years, this is a lower rate, and then you have 30 years, this is a higher rate. Now what's happened is that the yield curve has flattened. So actually what's happened now is that you have a rise up, but then kind of a flat yield curve like this. This isn't great. So this basically means that the market thinks that short term, over 2 years, interest rates are going to go up. Now we know that because the Fed has said interest rates are going up. We're raising interest rates to deal with inflation. And so we're putting them up. We don't know to how much, but the market has reacted and say, okay, well, we know you're putting interest rates up, so interest rates are going to be higher over the short term. Why is this flat though? Why is this not moving up? The market thinks that the Fed raising rates is going to spark a recession, and when a recession happens, obviously there is no inflation in a recession because everyone's losing their jobs and prices aren't going up and no one can sell anything. Obviously not that bad, but you get the point, right? And so when that's happening and when inflation is low, you don't need to raise interest rates. And so basically what happens is that yield curve is flat. In fact, during a recession, what the Fed will have to do is essentially stimulate again by reducing interest rates or keeping them the same. Now, obviously, this has many different moving parts, but this is essentially what the market is saying right now is that, yep, we think towards the end of this year, there will be a recession. That is terrible for asset prices, for Bitcoin and for the stock market. So what's happening now, as you can see in the stock market, is that not much is happening. You know, there's red days, any bit of bad news and there's a sell-off, any bit of good news and it's not that great. That's because the market is trying to figure out now, the market is forward looking, okay, what should the price be of an asset now, considering I think that in 6 months time, their revenues won't be growing and there'll be a recession or kind of a stagnation in the economy. That's what we're going through right now. And that's why even with all this great news in Bitcoin, you're not seeing it reach all-time highs because the market is filtering all of this stuff. Are we going to have a recession? Will it come? How long will it last? And everything like that. So that's kind of where we are, the good and the bad for Bitcoin and the rest of crypto because of that. So if you want to see more about my trades and everything like that, then check out the Crypto Investor course. Links in the description on that one. Come and join the private community as well. I'm James, it's MoneyZG. Cheers for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.